In a place where time doesn't reach, two echoes meet. Buddha, the master of silence. Kurt, the poet of noise. Between nirvana and nirvana, the unthinkable is born. They will dissect smells like teen spirit. A song, a scream, an illusion, or an awakening.
Load up on guns, bring your friends. It feels like youth has become an unconscious performance. We arm ourselves, gather friends, pretend we're lost just to feel something real. It's a strike against a world we can't even understand, fighting a war with no meaning. I feel like I'm battling an empty universe, clinging to darkness just to exist.
When you speak of donning chaos to feel the real, you are observing Maya, the illusion that adorns life. The ego raises walls and uses suffering as identity. This, pretending to get lost, is a form of spiritual ignorance. Because you believe destruction will bring freedom when it only reinforces suffering.
Maybe that's it, man. I wanted to disappear into something. It's fun to lose and to pretend. It's not really fun. It's more like a temporary relief from the internal confusion. But when I come back, I find the same void, just slightly numbed.
The self-destructive fun you mention is like drinking poison, hoping it will heal you. The pain of illusion has gone too far, and you seek distraction in chaos to escape it. But awakening begins when you recognize that you are living what the mind constructs, not an independent reality, but a painful mirage.
It's weird to admit that I romanticize that internal war, the emotional anarchy. But now I wonder if I was just devouring myself. All that performance, was it conscious action or a programmed escape?
Self-knowledge arises when we stop repeating unconscious acts. When you say pretend, you're already starting to question, and questioning is the embryo of awakening. Getting lost can be a path, but wasting yourself in performance isn't liberation, it's further ignorance.
I never saw myself as conscious, My thing was more about feeling than thinking. We'd howl, go crazy, and feel like we touched something raw. But we only caught a fragment, a scream, and never the quietness that comes afterward.
Feeling without awareness is like sailing without a rudder. The inner war you experience reflects ignorance of the illusory self. True freedom won't come from revolt against the world, but from revolt against the false identity you believe you are.
So, that's the tension you mentioned? The pleasure in getting lost clashes with the desire to wake up? But I never knew if I really wanted to wake up. Maybe I never truly slept.
That tension is the first glimmer of the path. Illusory pleasure pulled you down, but the dissatisfaction it created brought you here, to the brink of awakening. Let us begin this journey, to look honestly at the illusion and choose no longer to embrace it.
I feel stupid and contagious. Man, it's like this whole rebellion is just a cry born from boredom. I feel like everyone's just waiting to be entertained, but no one knows why. It's empty and epidemic where we pretend to feel something real, yet everything is numb.
Such apathy and sarcasm point directly to Dukatha, universal suffering intertwined with existence. When you say, I feel stupid and contagious, you expose a collective void, and also Tanhotha, insatiable craving for constant distraction or stimulation.
It's weird. We stage a horror show just to avoid confronting the boredom of being. We're desperate for anything that will shake us out of this trance of consumption and repetition.
Indeed, popular culture functions as a spiritual anesthetic. Entertainment, as you note, has become a crutch. The urge to be entertained reflects a deep-seated disconnection, an attempt to flee from ourselves.
I never liked that music could be used to comfort the masses. But ironically, I found myself doing exactly that, churning out sounds that soothe millions, even while I'm emptier than all of them combined. Isn't that hypocrisy? Just another form of sedation.
It isn't hypocrisy, it's suffering cloaked in ignorance. You recognize your own participation in this epidemic, and that acknowledgement itself is a step forward. Consciousness of the act means you have the potential to choose a different path.
Sometimes I thought being part of this epidemic was inevitable us, if every note I played was a cry for attention, but also a prison. That dependency ate me alive.
And here your initial insight comes back. What you call rebellion is truly a cry for helper, symbol of deep pain, longing for meaning. Yet the mirror it receives often reflects empty echoes.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted someone to see me breaking inside, to get that my attitude was a white flag begging for help.
That is the key. Recognizing the emptiness, sarcasm, and rebellion as expressions of dukkha. But by bringing them into the light of awareness, you allow them to surface without destroying you, and, without further anesthetization, pain becomes valid. Ignorance doesn't need to continue.
A mulatto, an albino, a mosquito, my libido. It feels like nobody really knows who they are. We're all a mixture, a mess of impulses we can't even name. Every line in that lyric is a mask, every laugh or tear a performance. Sometimes I peel the layers off and there's nothing underneath.
What you describe mirrors the doctrine of Unnata non-self, which teaches that there is no permanent, underlying essence that can be called a soul. Humans are made up of constantly shifting aggregates, not a fixed core. This is exactly what you express: multiplicity, not unity. Peace arises when one stops seeking a solid I beneath the masks.
But man, that's terrifying. I always wanted someone to tell me who I was, but when I looked in, there were only shards. It's like I'm 1,000 cuts with no blood tying it together. And inside that mess, anger, boredom, they all spill out at once.
The fear you feel is the fear of freedom. You see yourself as fragments, but that fragmentation shows there is no fixed self. Yet that absence of essence isn't a failure, it's the opportunity you've been seeking. The freedom not to be pinned down is liberation, not chaos.
Living like that, it's like trying to play that monster chord progression without any fixed tempo. You never know if your finger will hit something or break. Confusion could be a cage, or maybe what you're calling opportunity.
Yes, this confusion can be fertile ground, not a dungeon. Recognizing there's no fixed identity frees you from chasing roles and masks. When identity becomes just a shifting reflection, you stop struggling to be something you're not and begin to just be.
It's tough to believe. I thought I'd find peace when I figured out who Kurt Cobain is, but all I found was a swarm of complaints, memories, opinions, dark humor, no solid center.
Know this: the center isn't a static point, it's the constant movement itself. The root of being isn't a fixed self, but presence in the moment without clinging to thoughts, feelings, or identities. Peace blossoms when we stop searching under masks.
So, this confusion I saw as my weakness could actually be fertile ground for freedom. But how do I tell people, especially my fans, that it's okay not to have a self?
Words can point, but being is shown. Live this insight quietly, even in noise, embody presence. When people see that you don't rely on identity to feel alive, they may sense it too. The silent practice of presence is more persuasive than any explanation.
I'm worse at what I do best, and man, even with this gift, I feel like crap. Music both defines and destroys me at once. I should be good at this, find purpose, but I just feel useless. And that line, and for this gift I feel blessed, it's a contradiction that hits me deep. I'm recognized by what I do, yet I hate that. It's like the more I'm defined by it, the more I disappear.
This paradox you describe embodies anicca, impermanence, and the unsatisfactory nature of all conditioned phenomena. Dukkha, what was once a gift, becomes a burden. Acknowledging suffering as part of the path is essential. Without suffering, there is no clarity.
Fame, it became my chains. I'm a stranger to myself, a walking paradox. When people see me as an icon, I just feel the weight. Every cheer pushes me deeper into an abyss I helped create.
Fame is impermanent, like everything conditioned. The suffering arises when you cling to it or let it define you. If you see fame as passing phenomenon, not your essence, you may find space to breathe.
Here's what it feels like. Playing on a tight string that rages, but any second could snap. The sound can be beautiful, but I see collapse in the vibration.
In impermanence, collapse and revelation walk together. Pain can be a bridge, not a chasm. If you mindfully embrace suffering, it teaches you, it doesn't consume you.
It's hard to believe pain can teach. I thought I'd be the martyr, laying it out for truth, but it's lonelier than the cold silence of death.
That cry becomes a call to truth. Truth is impermanent, it's the insight behind suffering. When understood without fear, impermanence can heal rather than wound. Suffering reveals life, it does not erase it.
So, beyond the pain there might be release, but I always thought I'd break before reaching it. I never truly believed suffering could birth a new me.
Excellent insight. Spiritual rebirth doesn't come from rejection, it arises from compassionate presence with your suffering. When compassion meets clarity, transformation occurs. Then the cry becomes a gateway.
A denial, a denial, a denial. It's like a survival mantra. I repeated denial because it felt like there was nothing beyond it. I denied who I was, denied my pain, denied the fame, the music, even myself. On stage, I screamed against something I couldn't even name, and then found myself chained to that endless denial. Deep down, it was just my way of saying, I'm not the nightmare I see reflected back.
This loop of denial reflects the force of dissatisfaction, but also a longing for fulfillment in emptiness. When we repeat denial, we don't create silence, we feed a subtle attachment to the suffering, to the identity we reject, to the resistance. True silence isn't the absence of thought, but presence without opposition. The final denial can dissolve into the space of pure awareness.
Pure awareness. It sounds beautiful, but honestly it seems unreachable. I spent my life trying to figure out who Kurt Cobain was, and every time I thought I'd come close, I realized I didn't know the silence. The noise, guitar, crowd, chaos was the only thing that gave me any certainty.
The noise is a teacher that exposes mental chatter, but when we stop seeking answers in it, we begin to perceive the sound without identifying with it. Inner silence exists even amid external chaos. There's space between notes, between words, where the mind stops constructing. There we find rest. That is the language beyond denial and affirmation, a place of original freedom.
It's hard to believe there's such an in-between, especially when every gap I try to embrace gets filled with another denial. My instinct was to reject every last spark of hope, and that pushed me deeper into darkness. Now I wonder if facing silence head-on would have been better than running from it until there was only shadow left.
Denying everything down to its core can be a necessary part of the journey. It passes through the void. What distinguishes a pilgrim from a prisoner is awareness. If you surrender to silence with curiosity, without expectation, you may see denial dissolve on its own. The void, once embraced, becomes a bridge, not an abyss.
Void as a beginning. It hits harder than any riff. I always thought the void was the end, the last act, the final door closing. But you're suggesting it might be the crack through which we begin again, without script, without a heavy ego.
Precisely. Denial, ego, sound, silence, silence, all are paths leading to the same destination, awareness. When you stop fighting against yourself, the void reveals its fertility. It doesn't erase, it inaugurates. Silence becomes the final answer, not because it closes the story, but because it opens a doorway to freedom.
So silence isn't quitting, it's turning the key. Denial might just be the signal that we need to pause the noise so we can finally hear what's truly ours.
Yes, in that pause, you may find harmony among all the paradoxes you've lived. Inner silence neither denies nor affirms, it simply observes. And in that observation, there is freedom, and perhaps rebirth.